Imagine this. You're on a bus trip with your friends, heading for a fun day out. Now, imagine you're all over 70, and that bus suddenly skids on an icy road, plunging down a steep ravine into a frozen, isolated wilderness. This isn't a movie plot. It's actually happened to 18 senior citizens in the winter of 1978. They were on their way to a social club meeting when disaster struck. Their bus, their only link to safety, was now a mangled wreck at the bottom of a canyon, miles from any road. The temperature outside was dropping fast, well below freezing. They had no food, no water, and no way to call for help. The driver was seriously injured, and many of the passengers were hurt, confused, and terrified. As the first shock wore off, a grim reality set in. They were trapped. Night was falling, and the cold was becoming unbearable. Panic could have easily taken over, but it didn't. Instead, something incredible happened. These men and women, with an average age of 75, decided they were not going to give up. They were going to fight. Leading the charge was a remarkable woman named Eleanor. She had been a nurse during World War II, and her old training kicked in immediately. She calmly moved through the wreckage, tending to the injured with makeshift bandages torn from clothing. She kept everyone's spirits up, telling stories and leading them in songs to keep their minds off the biting cold and their growing fear. Meanwhile, a few of the more able-bodied men, despite their own aches and pains, worked to secure the bus. They used seat cushions and blankets to insulate the broken windows, trying to trap what little warmth they had. They knew that hypothermia was their biggest enemy. They huddled together, sharing body heat, rationing the few hard candies someone had in their purse. One man, a retired engineer named Frank, noticed something crucial. A small amount of diesel fuel was slowly leaking from the bus's ruptured tank. It was a long shot, but he had an idea. Working with freezing hands, he and another passenger managed to collect some of the fuel in an old thermos. Using a piece of cloth as a wick and sparks from a lighter that miraculously still worked, they managed to start a tiny, smoky fire. It wasn't much, but it was hope. It was a beacon in the darkness and a source of life-saving warmth. They huddled around it, the small flame reflecting in their weary eyes. They had survived the first night, but they knew the real test was just beginning. How long could they last? Would anyone even know where to look for them? As the second day dawned, their small fire was their only comfort. They took turns keeping it alive, understanding that if it went out, their chances of survival would plummet. Eleanor continued her rounds, making sure everyone was as comfortable as possible. They talked about their families, their lives, their grandchildren. They weren't just a group of strangers anymore. They were a family bound by a shared will to live. Back in civilization, their families had raised the alarm. A massive search and rescue operation was launched, but the area was vast and covered in deep snow. Helicopters scanned the endless white landscape. But the bus was hidden deep within the canyon, invisible from the air. For 2 long days and nights, the search parties found nothing. On the 3rd day, just as their meager fuel supply was about to run out, a breakthrough happened. One of the search pilots, flying dangerously low through the canyons, caught a faint whiff of something unusual, the smell of diesel smoke. He followed the scent, and there, nestled at the bottom of the ravine, he saw it. The wrecked bus and the tiny plume of smoke rising from their small fire. The rescue was difficult and took hours, but one by one, all 18 of them were airlifted to safety. They were cold, hungry, and exhausted, but they were alive. Every single one of them survived. Their story is a powerful reminder that age is just a number. When faced with the impossible, their experience, resilience, and refusal to give up turned what should have been a tragedy into an incredible story of survival. It shows that the human spirit, at any age, is truly unbreakable. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. See you next time.